Hello, listeners. One quick note before we get to the podcast. We finished recording this about 10 to 15 minutes before news of Joel Embiid's hyperextended left knee injury. More will come out on that, but please take that into note as you listen to the sections of our podcast, specifically where we talk about the MVP discussion. But now on to the podcast.
Every action has a repercussion. Lyrical bullets don't make me get the bussin'.
Welcome to No Broken Legs. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. Joining me in-house is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you this evening?
Man, I've had a rough week, but hopefully we talk about some basketball. Make me feel a little better. It was a rough week in the Champ household, so need to talk some sports with the fellas and keep those legs safe out there.
And joining the fellas is our good friend and our NBA expert, Brandon Fenty. Brandon, how are you this evening?
Hey, I'm doing great. Is there a wine glass number limit that we have tonight? Because I'm probably going to breach that. So.
I think the answer is no.
No,
Okay.
this is an open. If you're a pie, drink them if you got them, smoke them if you got them, whatever.
Perfect.
So, gentlemen, the NBA season, we just wrapped up All-Star, weekend. Games have started up tonight. The Cavs are already getting their asses kicked by the Pelicans. That was almost a 20-point game when I last checked the score at halftime. I'll start with you, Jimmy. When I listen to local talking heads and when I listen to basketball fans talk about the Cavs, they seem to not realize this team has the fifth worst record in the NBA. What am I missing?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So they're fun to watch. So I think what it is for me is like what the Cavs are right now is like the knockoff version of what the Blazers were a couple of years ago. And that ain't good, Chief. But I feel like that's what they are. Like they've got a couple guys in the backcourt that can score, but they can't really defend. They give up double the points that they stop the team from scoring, right? They're 30th in points scored, 15th in opponents' points against. So there's no balance, but they're fun to watch. It's cool. They third on dunks, they shoot threes.
Well, they did get one of their key pieces back. Larry Nance is back in the lineup tonight. And with him in the lineup, Brandon, this was a team that was, like, for a moment there, the top-rated defense in the league. No, I am not making that up. You can see it for yourself. It was true for, like, about a month into the season.
Yeah, it's a great, we've often talked, Evan, you and I, about our love for the Nance, as I like to call him.
He's great.
He is. He's great, and I think him with Jared Allen is definitely front court that you could build with, especially on the defensive end. He has more value than you would imagine around the league. I know that he's one of the several untouchables in trades, I would say. It wasn't explicitly said, but the combination of Sexton and Garland, probably Okoro. I'm assuming the way that he's been playing, my man Josh Allen, who I can't love on enough. I'm buying some stock on some Josh Allen, and probably Larry Nance Jr. Who
you mean Jared Allen?
Or Jared Allen? Sorry, yeah.
You've got the Buffalo Bills on the mind, man.
too many Allens out there, I tell you.
Yeah.
Can I, Brandon, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So the Nance comes back. Does that affect, in any way, good or bad, does that affect Jared Allen's awesome field goal percentage right now? And he only takes the fourth most shots among starters. So what does the Nance coming back do to affect that either way?
Oh, I think that's a good question. I think they can definitely work together. So Nance has a nice little touch from the mid-range. I mean, obviously Jarrett Allen is not going to be the rebounding machine if they wind up making it work. I know Nance, likes to get down and dirty as we all do. So we'll see. I think it's a great thing. I mean, I never bought stock in the huge contract given to Kevin Love, and they were wanting to convert into like a hey Love, get in the corner and shoot threes, but still kind of be our go-to guy. That didn't work out.
The Cavs still think that they're going to get something for Kevin Love in a trade.
If they do, I don't think right now the stock is high just through injuries.
No,
And
they're not getting
played.
anything. Everybody who's reporting on Kevin Love trades outside of Cleveland, and even a lot of the beat writers in Cleveland, are just saying flat out, teams are telling Cleveland, no. What are you going to give us to take Kevin Love? That's how those trade negotiations are currently going.
I can think of a guard. I think of a guard we could add with Kevin Love, free up some shots.
That's what I would do. I would trade Sexton or Garland.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, they're too stubborn to do it. They're way too stubborn to do it, even though they should. They should build around the Nance and Allen combo at the 4-5. You've got Okoro. You got to see what he can do. I mean, he's looked mostly lost, but Jesus, he had no off season, and he's their best perimeter. He was the best perimeter defender on the team the second he got drafted.
Yeah, and that says something for a rookie coming in and a team that's supposedly full of veterans and shifty, like you said, bootleg Portland guards. The sort of combo they have. So we've been saying most of the season that the roster is broken and they need to shake it up. I'm glad they have Jared Allen, but there's still some more work to be done before the trade deadline. I don't think they make any big moves. Maybe finding a home for Drummond, but that's about it.
Yeah, everybody local saying the same thing in terms of beat reporters. It's nobody's gonna give up anything for Drummond. It's just not gonna happen. Maybe somebody breaks and gives him a late second round pick, but everybody knows that he's probably gonna get bought out for pennies on the dollar, and then he's gonna go sign in Brooklyn or LA.
Well, let me ask you this. He's a double-double waiting to happen. He's going to get you at least 10 points in the paint. He's obviously going to get you at least 10 rebounds game after game. I mean, if he's still really young, I could see him going.
But Brandon, it's the second round of the playoffs. Yeah. You're in a 2-2 series. It's game 3. The game's starting. The other team's up by 10. I'm not putting Drummond in. I was going to say, is there a lineup for him out there for any of the contending teams that he's one of their starting 5?
Not until he shoots at least 33% from the corner. I don't see it happening.
Yep, I agree.
What, the corner of the key?
Yeah, the corner of the closest area to the paint. No. But yeah, it's like guys like Greg Monroe, Roy Hibbert. I mean, the dinosaurs are going extinct.
They're unplayable.
Yeah, I agree.
It's crazy, but it's true. So to transition a little bit to the latest news, because I think we've covered the Cavs fairly well for a team that is 14-22, soon to be 23.
Yeah, the big, and they're not trying to tank. That's the sad part. Yeah. They're actively competing in every game,
and they think this is working. They think this is working beautifully and succeeding. This is what they consider success.
They're wrong.
Yeah, I think so too, and I'm tired of people making me feel like I'm crazy for thinking that.
If I were the GM, I definitely would not have two. I wouldn't have drafted the second of the Sexland combo.
No, they completely screwed the pooch there, because this year they had to take Okoro because he was the only wing defender that was out there. So they were so limited in what they could do, because it's like they had to draft somebody that can defend, because you can't really take Toppin because he needs the ball too, and you've already got 2 other guys that need the ball, and you need shots for Allen, and you need shots for Nance. And I mean, the Cavs planned to have shots for Kevin Love. I don't know why, but they did. So how do you draft anybody but Okoro in that place? Mm-hmm. So they really just have painted themselves in a corner and then boxed themselves into that corner.
I will tell you this. It seems like we're watching 2 different games, because the value, not you and I, just between us and this group and probably some GMs out there, the value of Jetty Osman is way too high right now. So I'm looking at...
He's not that good at basketball, and it bums me out.
He's got skills. I'll put it to you this way. He can ball, but the way he's valued now, like teams like Golden State, who are, sort of not doing the best now because they just got the brakes blown off of them the other day. But But yeah, he's valued way too high in the league, and I believe the Cavs can get something decent for him, maybe another wing defender or something. But
yeah, if they could find a way to turn Jetty and Kevin Love and Andre Drummond into
something
not on the roster, like fine. Like if that's what it takes to get rid of Drummond and Kevin Love is you have to jettison Jetty Osman, then so be it. Like it's
I would do
okay, fine. I mean, at best he's going to be your backup 3, backup 2. Like that's what he is at his peak. So if you can get anything, even if it's a roll of the dice, it's worth getting rid of him. So oh my God, it's now 89-55, the Pelicans whooping on the Cavs. So while the Cavs continue to disappoint in their rebuild, Brandon, your Knicks, holy crap, man, they're 19-19. How much fun is this for you?
Unbelievable. Look, let me tell you this. The jury is out. So when the Knicks went on a little streak, right? They won 3 games in a row. You almost had to shut down the lights at 9 p.m. in New York City. People were going bananas. When the Knicks do well, that's how basketball is. It's still the Mecca, okay?
I don't know if we can still call it the Mecca.
We can do a whole pod on the center of basketball. It's in LA right now. Everybody knows that.
Look, man, Patrick Ewing didn't get recognized at Madison Square Garden earlier today, so
makes it hard to call it the Mecca.
Man, I mean, I can guarantee you this: when Kareem shows up at what do they play at the Staples Center?
Yeah.
When he shows up at Staples Center, there's people. Not only do they know him, there's people waiting for him, saying, "Mr. Abdul-Jabbar, right this way, sir."
That's true. So first, Spike Lee gets denied entrance in his normal entrance that he's used for 30 years.
Yeah.
And now they don't know who Patrick Ewing is. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Or didn't Xavier McDaniels have a problem with him? And wasn't there
Oakley?
Oakley, yeah, it was Oakley.
Yeah.
It was Charles Oakley. I don't understand how the staff at Madison Square Garden doesn't know these gigantic human beings are either current or former Knicks players. I mean, Spike Lee is really tiny, but everybody knows what Spike Lee looks like.
Spike has gone literally the same entrance and the same path for 30 years. And one day the owner says, "Sorry, you can't use this entrance anymore. You got to use the regular people entrance." I'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about? I'm your fan. Like you can't say New York fan without Spike Lee." So,
but now you have good things to celebrate. 19-19.
Yeah, the New York Wildcats, the
7th
teams from Kentucky. You know, it's great. It's great.
Well, Kentucky's good at college basketball, so it's working out all right.
It's a good pipeline, I will say. I did want to say that Thibodeau has never coached in the NBA as a head coach without Derrick Rose as his point guard. So when they said, "Hey, Thibodeau, you're going to be the coach of the Knicks," the first thing I thought was, he's going to get Rose. It's coming. So here we are, a couple weeks into the big splash, which I think is their only splash they're going to make this year in trades and free agency and stuff. And I like it. He's good. I am not a Alfred Payton fan, but yeah, I like Derrick Rose. I still think they need a true point guard, not named Derrick Rose, but that's another story. Yeah.
But I think the Knicks are smart. They didn't spend a bunch of money. They didn't do anything stupid. We've talked before that this offseason was a prime candidate for the Knicks to do one of those stupid, hey, let's trade for Russell Westbrook or John Wall, or hell, I don't know. Maybe they would have done both. Dolan's done dumber things.
But I will say the asterisk there is that I've read many stories, I've heard many a pod, and I've gone through many of article. The Knicks didn't even pick up the phone to call Kevin Durant or his agent.
That's just embarrassing. Come on.
I don't understand. But that being said, yes, they took a few swings, and the biggest swing they could get is Julius Randle, who's playing out of his mind this year. But yeah, just to not call Kevin Durant or his agent, or even put a feeler out there. Hey, you know Kevin Durant. Do you think he'd be interested in playing for the Knicks? The answer was yes, but now he's on the Nets. So
you're the Knicks. You should be sending fruit baskets and flowers to the agents whenever you're not specifically told you're not allowed to.
That's exactly. You can eat the money. I mean, it's cool. A couple thousand here and there. Dolan has it, but
yeah, but I read an article that was all over Nick's Twitter this weekend.
It's a scary place.
Okay, and it was
I
about
can't wait to hear where this goes.
it was about how we have now entered prime Julius Randle, which is better than prime Chris Bosh. So,
Oh my gosh!
So that
Who said that?
that is the comparison.
I put that I had sent that I think earlier this week to you, Evan. That there's some evidence that people are trying to mount against Chris Bosh to say that prime Randall is better than prime Bosh, and that's just
my fucking brain hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't get behind that, and I'm a huge Knicks fan. I just can't. I can't do it.
Do you think how many games are the Knicks? Because the Knicks are going to wind up playing Brooklyn in the first round. That's just fated to happen.
That's so wrong.
Do they take a game?
One game? It's possible. Look, it's possible. Kevin Durant he's on his second leg injury. I mean, the Achilles aside, I'm sure that's still there somewhere. But now he's dealing with I believe he's coming back from another leg injury here.
Yeah, he's got a hamstring injury now.
Yeah,
and
so
somebody that's
now,
been rehabbing a back injury that has caused me to have to reconnect all of my muscles. Exactly. Having a bad having a bad Achilles is definitely going to put more strain on your hamstring.
And you've long said that guys at a certain height, even if they don't have the weight, but guys at a certain height, just the physics of being that height with the amount of gravity that's pulling against them in their explosiveness, it's not good for the legs and knees. So
yeah, it puts a lot of strain on the Achilles, and we saw that with AD.
Exactly.
Another one of those guys that's just, they're so tall and long, and it's just crazy, but they move like guards.
I would definitely put some money down on them winning a game if Kevin Durant himself were injured. Anybody else, I wouldn't say, KD's still playing. Like he's one of the most unguardable players in the history of the NBA. So, I mean, if he's injured, then maybe they squeeze out a close one. But if not, it's a sweep, clean sweep.
Yeah, I really feel like the weird thing to me is to talk about that team and how people are not talking about how Kevin Durant, when he's looked healthy, has looked like the second best player on the planet again. He's looked really good. He's made that team really good. But I feel like he's not getting enough credit right now myself.
Well, it's because he's not playing at the moment.
That and Kyrie makes really difficult stuff look not so difficult. He's doing things out there, and I'm not a huge Kyrie fan. I've never been for some reason. Maybe just left a sour taste in my mouth as a follower of the Cavs.
I mean, we can just real quickly get into the fact that he doesn't make his teammates better. He's a ball hog. He doesn't lead, and apparently nobody outside of Brooklyn wants to play with him or be near him.
That's part of it there. I mean,
I think he covered it.
He's won. So the thing that fascinates me about this Brooklyn team, and I have a question here that I'll pose at the end of this. The thing that fascinates me about this Brooklyn team is Kevin Durant has had his failings in the playoffs. Now, he did hit big shots for Golden State, but that team was just so overwhelmingly good. Kyrie has had limited, really no playoff success without LeBron. And James Harden has had failings of his own in the playoffs. Who's the favorite? Is it the Lakers or is it Brooklyn? Who do you like right now, Brandon?
I would, if it's right now, we're talking about the team right now without Kevin Durant.
No, at full strength with AD and KD back. How we expect them to be in the playoffs?
I think the conversation about the Lakers' depth is unfounded once you still have that guy LeBron and that guy AD. I mean, I
think when people talk about depth and we talk about the playoffs, how often has depth won a playoff series?
Yeah, you're gonna,
or at least in the era of LeBron, how many times has depth won a playoff series? It just doesn't matter. You got to have it's your top five.
And round two, you're going to rely on guys like Andre Drummond. No, I'm just kidding. You're going to they've been there before, and like you said, the shortcomings of those three players minus maybe Durant, but I still would put the nod to the Lakers. I've bet against LeBron James before and failed miserably, and I just can't see it unless he has some horrible breakdown in the playoffs, which I highly doubt would happen, but I would still have the nod of the Lakers in 6 or 7.
Okay, so right now, the way the line shakes out, the Lakers are the favorite at plus 260. The Nets are plus 300. That's a general average. Some places actually have them even, and I have seen some places here and there that have had the Nets as a slight favorite ahead of the Lakers. So if you're somebody that likes one team more than the other, definitely shop around. Now, Jimmy, you're a big LeBron fan. You've been a big Lakers fan. When they get AD back, do you think any of this matters?
No. But I'm becoming less and less confident that I'm going to get to see a fully healthy AD in the NBA playoffs like we got to witness last year, or very, very close to fully healthy. It just, like when LeBron starts going into like deep playoff mode early where he's actually talking to the press and he's engaged and he's putting things out in the ether, letting his teammates know, hey, I still think we're the best team, which means, hey, I still think I'm the best player. You guys get me there and I'll get it done. I think if the Lakers, I think without KD, they would have a better chance of succeeding in the playoffs than the Lakers without AD.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that. What do you think there, Brandon?
Yeah, definitely. That sums it up pretty well. I mean, I hear a lot of people always talk about who's that third star on the Lakers and things like that. I mean, when has a LeBron James led team ever had a third player? It's always been LeBron or LeBron and maybe some other guy. You know what I mean? So
here's a question I have. Let's say AD doesn't come back. Is there a team? The Clippers would probably be at the top of the list of teams that the Lakers could not beat. The Suns. All right, you can't have the Clippers. Lakers minus AD or the field?
Ooh.
The field. I think minus AD. I think Utah can beat them.
Yeah, the way Utah's playing now and the sort of balance they have, and they're super deep. I like the rotations that Quint. I know that sounds a little funny, but I like the rotations that their coach has. I like the sets that they run. How Donovan Mitchell's been killing it. I could definitely see Utah doing it.
I'm just going to agree with Nick Wright when I say the following sentence. We know who the Utah Jazz are. They are the Al Horford, Paul Millsap, Kyle Korver. Was Joe Johnson on that team, that 66-win Hawks team? We've seen this team a million times. They always get dispatched by LeBron in just the most horrific of fashions. I mean, and it's never like even a gentleman's sweep. Like it's a sweep, and not even a close sweep, because you can just see the disdain LeBron has for people thinking, no, this is the playoffs, and nobody on this court is as good as me, and I'm going to show you.
And they've also dubbed Royce O'Neal the LeBron stopper, so I think a guy like LeBron would look at that and say, really? The LeBron stopper?
Yeah, go look at the history of LeBron stoppers, and right. Was it Andre Iguodala won a Finals MVP holding LeBron to like 36, 12, and 10?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Jazz just picked up Ersan Ilyasova. The
Nice.
ground is shaking.
Nice.
Yeah, and a lot of Cavs fans that are my age or older may remember hearing about the great Jordan stopper Wilkins, who
that didn't work out.
I can't even remember what his first name. Gerald?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gerald Wilkins.
Side note,
that's how memorable he was.
Can we talk about how hilarious Quinn Snyder looks like an 80s movie villain?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
By all means, present your case.
I watched him play. I watched his hair flip around. He looks like a mix of sort of a cracked out Willem Dafoe and an axe murderer. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Only here, folks. Only here.
Yeah. So
yeah, if somebody like that's coming towards you, that's when you know your legs are about to be broken.
But I don't know. But I feel like Quinn and Donovan give this team just a little bit different feel. I feel like those teams, as many regular season games as they won, both the Pacers team and the Hawks team, they knew that they could not beat LeBron. And that was definitely, I would say that's like prime LeBron right there. I don't think Donovan Mitchell thinks that this LeBron without AD can beat him and the team around him. And I do think that matters, especially in basketball when there's so few people on the court to affect what's going on. I honestly believe that with the way Donovan's playing, he feels like we are the best team in the West. Of course, if AD's there, you can believe it, but I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
But without AD, I think it might be true.
I agree with everything you said, but I don't think it matters because I think LeBron's just better than LeBron and 4 guys against a team like that is a win. It's always a win.
Well, I hope so.
But hopefully we get AD
that-
back and this is all moot and
Yes.
we get everybody at full strength.
Yes, and if AD's healthy, the Lakers go back to back. They've looked so good when he's been healthy and on the floor. The spacing's been good. The defense has been good. Schroeder's playing really well when he gets to be on the court. I think they'll get another title. I think if everybody's healthy.
So I see AD on the bench at the games. Do you think there's a little sort of undercover extended rest going on, or do you think it's really serious?
I think they're trying to get him rested and as healthy as they can so they can figure out what's actually wrong with his legs.
I think we'll find out the answer to that question over the next couple of weeks. If he's not back soonish, then they're not just resting him because they need him on the court to be in game shape. You don't want to be playing yourself into game shape in the playoffs. That's going to be really difficult. So crosstown from the Lakers, the Clippers are quietly 25-14. They've looked really good at stretches. They're actually third at plus 550 for NBA title. They seem to have echoes of their late game collapses at times, Brandon. How worried should our listeners be if they've got money on the Clippers about that?
They're still the second fiddle to the Lakers. I think, I've never had a good feeling about Paul George. He's called himself, all sorts of nicknames, but when it comes down to crunch time, he just doesn't perform. On top of that, I mean, who's your third guy? Ibaka, he's not the Serge Ibaka, the shot blocker that he was at some point in time.
Well, I think they're hoping that Kyle Lowry finds his way onto their roster.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. I do like Lowry. I could see that being a big pickup for them. I would rather see Lowry in Philly, but that's another conversation.
We'll get to them in just a moment.
I think so I do like the pace. So there's a huge difference between how Lou was running the ship and how Doc Rivers was running it. They were moving way too fast, and you've got robot connection between Kawhi and Paul George. They move so slow, and I love it because that's their game. They thrive in the half court. But yeah, I don't think they're gonna do anything more than lose to the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. I mean,
well, that matchup may be happening in the second round because I think the Utah Jazz are going to end up as the 1 seed because I don't think the Lakers really give a shit. And
I agree with you.
I don't know if the Clippers are going to play their guys enough to get there.
Yeah, and I will say if they do make a trade for a guy like PJ Tucker, I know a lot of people are kind of scoff at a pickup like that, but just another guy who can stretch the floor and play defense, it can only help them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a reason he's in demand, and that reason shows itself every year in the playoffs. People laughed about Andre Iguodala to Golden State when that kind of was first made, and nobody would have guessed that he would be playing crunch time minutes for them in NBA Finals games that matters. And we saw it last year. Whichever Morris twin the Lakers had was playing in some of those biggest crunch time moments. And you just see it time and again where you see these more seasoned, experienced guys. We saw it in Cleveland in 2016. Richard Jefferson played damn near the entire Game 7 because LeBron was like, no. He's going to be on the court.
Yep.
I need this guy.
Yeah.
The Clippers did pick up a guy I really liked for a few years now, Nick Batum. I know he's not shaking the needle or moving the needle way too much, but if you're talking about veterans who've been around for a while that know the ins and outs, maybe don't have the huge playoff experience. I believe he's been a few times with the Blazers, but
I wish he was still in Portland.
Yeah,
he spaced the floor so well for Lillard.
Yeah, he's having a decent season. He doesn't score but 8, 9, 10 points a game, but he can come in and do something for your team that other guys just can't do.
Yeah, it looks like his efficiency has been really well right now with the Clippers.
All right, so we'll skip ahead. The Utah Jazz right now are close with the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks are plus 750. The Jazz are plus 800. We did kind of touch on the Jazz already. Do we have any realistic expectations of them winning the NBA title?
No.
Don't tell that to Kendrick Perkins. He'll be the one to tell you, watch out for the Jazz.
No, I don't think. I don't think there are possibly 3 teams I think could come out of the East, and I don't think Utah could beat any 3 of them in the finals unless there was some injuries. But fully healthy, no. And I only got them going to the finals if AD doesn't play. So get healthy, AD.
Dear Kendrick Perkins, the Utah Jazz are not winning the NBA finals.
No, yeah, Twitter right now. Don't go on Knicks Twitter though, because that's like I said, scary dark place. I will say if Mitchell reaches, so he's playing out of his mind right now. But if he finds a way to ascend his body and play way better than he should be playing in the playoffs and go from say 25, 30 points to 35, 40 points, then maybe they have a squeaker. But yeah, I don't see it under any normal circumstance unless barring catastrophic injury from the Lakers or even the Clippers, really.
Okay, so in the East, those other teams we just mentioned, the Milwaukee Bucks, they seem to be going to a late game offense that avoids Giannis. It's kind of weird. Drew Holiday isn't like it seemed. Chris Middleton's their like clutch guy, and that really scares me looking at them. But otherwise, how do they match up with Brooklyn, Brandon?
Look, I will say just a quick aside that they really miss Malcolm Brogdon. I have a few friends that are Bucks fans.
That's like James Harden or Oklahoma City letting James Harden go. Like those are just 2 huge what ifs.
Yeah, it's a sore spot. If you ever talk to Bucks people, just don't mention Malcolm Brogdon at all. It's a huge sore spot. But against Brooklyn, I think the Bucks really know right now that they need to do something. So they spent the entire offseason making moves and throwing things into the wind in order to tell Giannis, hey, we really want you to stay. It's all about their superstar. But the moves they made are okay. I mean, I like Holiday. I like
Brandon's overwhelming endorsement. It's okay.
It's okay.
They're okay, but can you really look at that roster and can you really say, hey, like you said, second round of the playoffs, third round of the playoffs, this is what's going to get me when Giannis hasn't taken that sort of superstar leap. Yes, he's one of the poster boys of the NBA, but just looking at how, like you said, how they're playing late game offenses without their superstar, that's just not going to cut it against a Brooklyn or even a Philly. I just can't see it happening.
So I like Philly. I like what's happening. Me and Evan, we argue sometimes about what exactly Joel Embiid's value is in today's NBA, but I like the way the team's
it now.
Playing. He is.
And here's the crazy part: at 25-12. They're plus 1,400 to win the NBA title right now.
Oh, wow.
It's a bet worth making if you're near a sports book right now. Probably gonna make that bet
because they just present a lot of problems for Brooklyn. They can attack Brooklyn's weakness, which is interior defense, and they can just pound them inside.
And this year's Bucks team too. I think if they match up, 7-game series. Yeah. Bucks right now versus Bucks that haven't made an additional move versus Philly right now. I honestly will say Philly wins that 4 or 5 into it.
I agree.
Can Ben Simmons slow Kevin Durant down enough?
Yes.
Wow, just straight deadpan. He didn't even flinch, folks. He didn't even flinch. He looked me dead in the eye and just, yes.
I am off of the let's just bash Ben Simmons on the things he doesn't do well that nobody thought he could do well to begin with. We just figured, hey, he's going to start doing it now that he's on our roster. I'm going to focus on the things he's good at, and I think he will pester Kevin Durant. I think he can slow him down enough. It might not happen with Brooklyn's firepower. They have one of my favorite stats on the year right now, Joe Harris, 4th in the NBA in 3 points attempted, 2nd in percentage made. So that means he's getting a lot of wide open looks and he's making them, and that's big in the playoffs. Kind of like what we kind of thought Kyle Korver could do in the playoffs, something like that.
Yeah, except most of those guys when they came to Cleveland didn't make their shots.
They didn't.
Richard Jefferson made his shots,
Richard
though.
Jefferson.
That's why the veteran was in the lineup.
Richard Jefferson swung his nuts in Draymond Green's face, and it was fabulous. It was the greatest. It was the most worthy technical I've ever seen called on a player, like live while I was watching the game, because the ref
dunked it.
Yeah, when he swung up and the ref teed him up, and he just looked at the ref like, I know,
like I know I did it.
I know it's okay.
Go ahead.
I've loved RJ from the Nets days, just growing up in New York City. I will say, he was great for the Cavs, but who's going to be that player outside of LA? Let's not talk about the Lakers; they get talked about enough. But let's say a Philly or someone like that gets to the finals. Who's going to be that Richard Jefferson veteran or that JJ Redick to make that move? So.
Well, the other teams that we have listed are all either plus 3,000 or higher. Do any of these teams do anything for you, gentlemen? I'll just kind of toss them out and leave it to you. The Denver Nuggets.
Yes.
I love me some Nuggets, man. I'm telling you. I could watch Jokic, who's definitely shaped like a Hidden Valley Ranch bottle. I mean, I love you see it too, right? I love it. I love his game. He's so oddly I'm not going to say unguardable, because I've watched him against Embiid, who kind of plays with him like a chew toy, but his game is so weird and it works, you know what I mean? And Michael Porter, who my Knicks whiffed on because of his injuries and didn't want to draft him, but yeah, I just love watching them play. I like watching them play. But AD he eats him alive. He does.
He absolutely destroyed him in that playoff series in the bubble last year. So I just
fun team,
no.
But
they're fun to talk about, but they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think for me, like what the Nuggets odds right now, that's kind of where I focus a lot of my bets during football season. So I have no problem making that bet. Like, don't ever bet ridiculous shit just because you're at the sports book. Like, I don't care what the odds are on the Cavs. Don't bet them to win anything. But we're looking for value in our bets. And with the odds of the Nuggets, I can say, okay, this isn't a throwaway bet. Weird shit happens in professional sports. I could actually visualize this weird shit happening. Jokic finally plays well against AD. This is the year LeBron breaks down. It's bound to happen at some time. I can understand that bet. Like I think that's a great odds bet.
Especially with AD out right now, that makes sense. And there is one good Cavs bet. I'm going to defend it. I bet the Cavs plus. I bet the Cavs over 20.5 wins this year on the idea that the truncated schedule would help them, and also the fact that they would actually care about basketball when the season started because they hadn't played in like a year. And I was right.
You were right. You were absolutely right. You nailed it.
Although at 14-23, I'm still not confident.
You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be.
Anybody have any hope of the Heat getting back and making some noise in the playoffs?
I hope so.
That's a no. So. That 2-second pause was a no.
They you know what? I'm not going to say that the Heat have no chance of going a few rounds in the playoffs, but getting back to the NBA Finals, it's going to be a tough one this year with how Brooklyn's playing, how Philly's looked. Even I don't even know if they beat this year's Bucks unless the Heat make a move. So. They're on a little streak right now, but I don't know. It's going to be a tough one for them.
This is just disrespectful that the Phoenix Suns and Boston Celtics have the same odds for the NBA Finals. Now, I think they both have the same chance, which is 0, but the Suns are a much better team than the Boston Celtics, in my opinion. I think the Celtics are showing... Where's Jimmy and I, for years, have made fun of the people who call Brad Stevens a genius, Brandon. We're enjoying this season a lot.
I know we both come from the ilk of Boston haters. Me more so than you, just being a New Yorker and someone who loves and still follows all New York sports. But yeah, I don't see the Celtics doing much more than a first round or second round exit. They have made some wonky moves in the past, but I don't think they're going to get rid of any of their assets. Any trade needs to include Marcus Smart, and if Marcus Smart goes, there goes most of the heart of their team. So
yeah, they don't seem to want to do that move at all. Like that seems to be untouchable, which is very weird.
they'd have to find a way to convince Orlando that Orlando no longer needs Vucevic, and I don't see Orlando pulling that trigger. Vucevic, every year people talk about how he's going to be traded to Boston and other teams that have absolutely no interior presence, but I just don't see it happening.
I think the trade where a very good young player somehow gets moved in a deal has already happened, and that very good young player was Jared Allen, and he came to Cleveland.
And that's it. Yeah, JaVale's not going to do it. I mean, there's no – who else is – Tristan Thompson wasn't the answer they were looking for. It's like
no!
It's like he's aged like 15 years just from leaving Cleveland.
Who could have guessed that the guy who had a great complimentary game to LeBron James is all of a sudden not very good without LeBron James? I mean, when has that ever happened before, except for with Matthew Dellavedova and
wait a minute.
like half the guys that he made superstars?
Okay, you got to give him some time to be clear because he thought he was that good of a player without LeBron when it started. So we got to, I mean, we were still the defending champion. So
that's true. And Tristan Thompson came to the coffee shop when I was working, and he was super nice, and the couple of guys he had with him were super nice. Everybody was cool.
Man, damn, leave Tristan alone, man.
So, Tristan, you're cool. You're not very good at NBA basketball anymore. You're not swinging a championship like you were 5 years ago, but you're still getting paid, so it works out.
Is there a superstar? Is there a superstar on the Boston Celtics team?
Jason Tatum has shown flashes, but how many years are we going to say that exact sentence?
Exactly.
How old is Jason Tatum?
20. He's early 20s. He's not that old. I'm going to say 22, 23, somewhere around there.
Googling it now. He is 23.
Nicely done.
So I think we give him 2 more years. If we're having this same conversation in 2 years about whether or not he's one of the top, I don't know if 5 players is necessarily fair, considering Kevin Durant's still going to be out there. What is AD going to look like when LeBron's out of the way? Good Lord, if Zion stays healthy, what is he going to be doing? But definitely a top 10 player, and I don't know. Like, he's in Boston and nobody really talks about him except when the annoying Boston people talk about him. So how good can he be? Same with Jaylen Brown.
I do like Jaylen Brown and what he brings to the table, but I don't think that team has a true superstar in the traditional sense. I've been bearish on Jason Tatum from the beginning. He has shown flashes. I will say there are points in time where I'm like, wow, like look at that talent. But then the next game he goes out there and just looks. He disappears and looks lackadaisical, doesn't do it consistently. So, I don't think that team has anybody.
They're another team that is sort of constrained by their roster construction. If they're not going to give up Marcus Smart, they're obviously not trading Brown or Tatum. So that means the only places that they can really look to improve are at the 4 and the 5. And that really limits your options out there because, you want a 4 that can stretch the floor and shoot the corner 3. Congratulations. So does everyone else.
Welcome to 2021, Boston.
Kevin Love, who has always hurt, got a mammoth extension because he can do that, and he's done nothing with that extension except collect paychecks. Although he did play a decent portion of the season last year, but they also didn't play a decent portion of the season. So
what happened? Like they really need a 4. They have Jason Tatum starting at the 4. That's just not.
Yeah.
That's just not going to work.
It's I don't know. It's weird.
I think we may have reached sort of the crest of small ball lineups.
I think
because you saw like Houston went full small ball last year, and they were just so easily dispatched.
Yeah, I think we might have also seen kind of the tail end of prime Danny Ainge as a GM executive. I don't think he's been able to keep the roster up with what he was needed. He doesn't seem to get even the moves prior, these last couple of years. He just keeps filling the roster with the guys that don't really get you to titles, at least not when LeBron is in the league. Yeah. Like it's not going to happen.
I ragged on Tristan Thompson, but I mean, he's been in the league a long time. He's got a lot of miles, and like we've seen, he's a limited player in terms of his skill set.
He kind of reminds me of Kenneth Faried, who no one knows what he's doing now.
Yeah.
Just similar skill set. Maybe Tristan's a little bit bigger body-wise, but I would say in a couple of years, unless some team really, really likes him and thinks that he can fit and could be a good piece, he's going to be out of the league very soon. So.
Well, I think Boston wants Thompson to be the anchor of their interior defense. That's just not – he's never been that player, so I don't really know what the plan was there. It's a bad plan.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a bad plan.
He'll grab you a few offensive rebounds. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, but that's not going to make up for everything else.
Should have just kept Enes Kanter if that was the case. They give you the same skill set.
Oh man, we're debating on whether or not the Celtics should have kept Enes Kanter or signed Tristan Thompson, and I'm loving it because fuck the Celtics. But we should move on. Right now, MVP odds have it as mostly a two-horse race between Joel Embiid and LeBron James. Right now, Embiid's the favorite at about plus 200, although that number varies. You find it as low as 150. LeBron, you can get it 250. He's mostly in the mid-twos. Brandon, do you see this as a race between those two guys at this moment?
At this moment, yes. I would also like to at least put Jokic's name in the hat. Just the way he's been. He's
plus 450. He's third, and fourth is Luka Doncic, and his numbers all the way up to plus 1200. So
the Nuggets. And
it really does look like a 3-horse race, but with 2 clear front runners.
The Nuggets would really need to kill it in the wins-losses columns. That's probably going to be the determining factor. But yeah, right now it's between LeBron and Embiid. I do say, and I know you probably agree, that there's always a hint of superstar fatigue when someone's always at the top of the rankings. And talk about LeBron James, obviously, but it's weird. He hasn't won the MVP since 2013. How can we have the NBA with LeBron as your number one guy, and that's the case? So
I think it just goes to show 2 very important things. One, LeBron's so good, it just doesn't matter. Like, everybody knows he's the best player, whether or not we give him an award or not. It just doesn't matter. And I think the other thing is that there's just a concerted effort of people in the media to make sure that LeBron James doesn't hit certain career milestones so that they can hold on to their Michael Jordan's better argument.
Oh, I agree with that.
There is a segment of the media that is every year their goal is to find someone to vote for that's not LeBron James.
And that's a shame. It's a shame, if that's the case. But I will say, if Embiid keeps up his health and his changed a little bit of his diet, I believe he was eating like 2 cheeseburgers before every game before, and he's gave that up.
The Ringer, I think it was the Ringer, had a really nice piece on his off-season workout regimen and how finally being healthy, he was able to actually work out and train, and how that's really helped him on the court. And then, they hooked him up with a nutritionist, like you said, because apparently 2 cheeseburgers before game time isn't the best decision. I mean, who knew?
Look, I applaud you, Joel.
I did it in college. It worked out, but I'm not a professional athlete. But yeah, if he keeps that up, then I can't see it not going to Embiid.
Okay, so side note, how many joints did Darius Miles smoke before each game in the locker room? Not like during the day before, but like in the locker room.
I feel like that number is probably known somewhere. Like, I feel like that's a real stat.
Like there was some like 13th, 14th guy on the roster that was just keeping tabs on it as his own little personal project.
He's got a notebook somewhere, and he just put a little tally for every joint that was smoked. That's got to be known somewhere. A lot. And
he said a lot. The answer is a lot. So
look, they're not testing for marijuana this year in the NBA, so I would assume the amount of joints being smoked this year is exponentially higher than years past.
Now we know why Kyrie's out there saying crazy shit again.
Well, you sir, are some NBA players, and you've heard some of the tales about how they know what the testing schedule is, and that the teams let them know, and that whenever. What is it? I think you told me a story of the player celebrating getting his 4th test like early in the testing period because he's like, "This is awesome! I'm not going to be tested again. I can start smoking weed."
Yeah, normally there's a number amount as to how many times they can test you, and it's so weird. And it's true when you see a player that's been kind of mediocre all year, then all of a sudden he has a huge game. Immediately after that game, he gets drug tested, and the players know it's coming. But yeah, once you hit that threshold and certain players somehow get tested more than others, it's a free for all for those guys. They're smoking a lot. I'll tell you that. I hope.
Okay, so back to the MVP discussion. We have Embiid, James, and Joker as our top three. After that, we have Luka at plus 1,200, Stephen Curry at plus 1,600, Giannis is also at plus 1,600, and then you start getting into the longer shots of James Harden at plus 2,000, Damian Lillard plus 2,000, Kawhi, Kevin Durant. So I guess the first question I have is there any way any of the players from Brooklyn have a chance at the MVP considering their roster?
Better not.
Yeah, I hope not. I've never wanted a team to fail more so than this year's Brooklyn team for some reason. Like, I'm really rooting against them, but that's an aside. I think honestly, Harden's, kind of taking a back seat, but if all of a sudden a Harden or a Kyrie just explodes for, 35 plus a game, maybe 10 plus assists a game, and Brooklyn wins almost every game for the rest of the season, maybe. But it would be up to the voters to look at that and say, wow, that is MVP caliber or MVP worthy. And I think they have their guy now this year in Embiid. And like you said, it's a very anti-LeBron tactic to find another guy like an Embiid to say, you're our guy. And he's playing the way an MVP is supposed to be playing. So
I say go ahead and place that bet on – I would bet it both on Steph and Dame. Both of them were kind of heating up before the All-Star break. They had a ton of fun challenging each other at the All-Star game. I think that's an okay bet because I can see either one of them lighting fire and the voters being able to go, ooh, that guy. We know they love Steph, and they would like to see Lillard finish out a season. He has these great stretches, but then he usually shrinks towards the end of the year. They'd like to see him finish it, and they might even reward it if Embiid falls off. Personally, I think if Embiid and LeBron stay at the level they're at, Embiid's going to get the MVP. I hate it, but it just...
The problem with that Steph and Dame are going to have is that right now the Warriors are 10th in the West, and right now Portland's 6th in the West. Yeah, and that's the same problem that Joker's going to have because he's 5th in the West. So those you're going to have to be in the top if you're going to beat LeBron or Embiid, because the Lakers are going to be one of the top 3 seeds more than likely, and Embiid's going to be first or second. So it's going to be tough to overcome.
So I'm going to keep Embiid out of it because I don't really know what the voters think of him. We don't really know. I believe the All-Star voters as the fans, right? We believe right for the starters, like we believe LeBron staying at the top, staying at the level he's at, that's prime everything, right? But I feel like the MVP voters are like, if Steph would take the Warriors from 10th to 8th and go on just one of his ridiculous runs, I think they value that more than LeBron staying at the top.
I think that might be true, and I just think that's nonsense.
I agree with you, it's nonsense, but it's still what I feel.
Yeah, the league loves Steph Curry.
It just
that's the way it works.
And I don't mean any shade. Like, I don't mean any shade to Steph Curry. I think he's an amazing basketball player. I think he's changed a lot of things that we see go on in every game now. Like, every single game, there's somebody pulling up a spot three-pointer from a place they should never shoot from, and they're allowed to do that because Steph was able to do it and make it work. So then it gave a lot of guys freedom to do it. Like, I love Steph's game, but I just think he's overvalued. And we believe LeBron's undervalued. That's just what it is. Like, I believe LeBron James is undervalued by the people that are supposed to be best in the world at valuing what an NBA player is.
I agree with that. I think, if we look at LeBron and what he brings and just the consistency over the years, and who would have thought we're talking about someone who's probably going to break the points record, and, there's no NBA record other than how many, rings you have on your fingers that he probably won't break. It's crazy. And I definitely think he's one of the more undervalued players the game has ever seen, which is still crazy.
And it's just, like, we're talking about Blake Griffin being broken down. He was. How long was he drafted after LeBron?
Yeah,
4 years, 5 years after LeBron, and he's already done.
Yeah,
like LaMarcus Aldridge is already done.
God, LaMarcus.
Yeah, let's.
Andre Drummond, like I mean, these guys. I mean, they can still play, but they can't play in the league anymore. Like nobody wants them. They're getting cut.
That's very true. Aldridge, though, I will say.
Here we are, LeBron James, year 18.
He's still doing it.
It doesn't feel like he gets the same credit as like Tom Brady does for the longevity and the excellence that he's put in at that level. Is just, I mean, he's been unquestionably one of the 3 best players in the NBA for basically 15 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah,
I think that's forever. Yeah. That's so long. And, you know, it's a joke. Everybody like, oh, my God, LeBron and the Lakers look bad. Yeah, because LeBron always coasts into the All-Star break, and then they're going to come out, and they're going to look fine, and everybody's going to look stupid for doubting him.
Popovich has said it numerous times. Playoff seeding doesn't matter. I know it's a pride thing for a lot of the players to be 1, 2, or 3, but if you make the playoffs,
LeBron don't care.
Personnel, yeah, that's it. No. I mean, as long as you get in the playoffs, you have the personnel to make the adjustments. You're on a recipe for success. So
the Lakers are 13-5 on the road. They don't care.
They don't care. But I think like for me, like the stat watch this year with LeBron has been incredible because over the last 5 or 6 years, the only thing like I wasn't looking at it at that level of where he stacked numbers wise in so many career all-time categories. It's absolutely wild. Like it's wild. Like you're catching people who played in the league during a time where what they did couldn't really be stopped, and he's chasing all of them. And we've seen 5 different people be labeled LeBron stoppers, and he's going to finish at the top of every category he wants to finish in.
Except for Royce O'Neal, who's obviously the LeBron stopper of the NBA. I mean, when you look at Utah, it starts at Royce and it's everybody else. Doesn't matter. No.
Well, all I know,
I totally agree.
You've convinced if Utah and the Lakers cross in the playoffs, we'll definitely play some bets on Royce for defensive player of the series, right? Right, MVP of the series.
After LeBron goes 35, 8, and 9 or something.
Right. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. Yeah. We'll take those odds, whatever they happen to be.
LeBron James is 8th on the all-time assist list.
That's crazy.
8th. He's ahead of. Here's just a few names that he's ahead of. Nobody big. Just look who's at 9th. Isaiah Thomas. Was he any good?
He's pretty
Can't
good.
remember. Wasn't he? Isn't he the only undersized guard to ever lead his team to an NBA Finals win?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he was pretty good. Look who's right behind him: Gary Payton, Andre Miller. Oh, sickening! Guaranteed make you dunk like Rod Strickland.
Yeah, all the records.
He's chasing down Oscar Robinson. He probably won't catch Chris Paul. And then at number 5 is Magic Johnson.
There's not many names above him on that list that
he's gonna.
And you got to think like
he's gonna be the all-time scoring leader, and he's gonna be like 3rd in assists.
Like that's wild. And you got to think like probably it's probably because of him being in Cleveland, for us being in this area that we've watched so many LeBron games, where if there was any other player in the league starting at small forward, they would have lost. We had the one small forward, technically, that's where we're going to drop him in a board. It's going to be small forward. But we've watched him drag so many horrible teams. And then you think of how many Hall of Famers Magic played with.
Several. My favorite NBA player of all time, Kareem.
And James Worthy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely wild.
AC Green, solid pro.
Yeah. I just think when you look at what LeBron has brought to the game since his inception, since being probably the most hyped player the game has ever seen in the television era, outside of maybe how Zion came in, we could have that argument later, but just the way he took the league by storm, and and how the players, Boozer and other players on the team were on interviews saying we literally don't need LeBron James on our team. We've got Ricky Davis.
Takes that age very poorly.
That was a terrible.
No. We've got Ricky Davis.
I was watching some of those old tapes of LeBron in 2003, and it's he's been killing it since then. Obviously, his game has progressed and changed over the years, but all of the people he's had to go through, and I definitely think he's unfairly graded in the echelons of NBA lore, and we probably won't appreciate it until several years after he retires in 2050. So.
Yeah. Sorry, I was on like a 2-second tape delay there.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna outplay Bronny. He's gonna go to Bronny's Bronny's retirement ceremony as LeBron wins his 78th title
at age 63.
Yeah. So it's coming.
When he sets the all-time NBA rebounding record or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
So. Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that's what I had.
All right. So we'll just wrap up here with some final thoughts. Brandon, who do you think we wind up seeing in the NBA Finals, and who's going to win the whole thing?
Ooh, right after the midseason, you're dropping the bombs.
Dropping the bombs, putting you on the record.
If it continues with the same way that we're playing, I think you see a great Western Conference final between Utah and the Lakers. I have the Lakers beating them and the Lakers going to the finals. And then on the East, I don't think – I have a feeling that Philly is not going to best Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn makes it. So we're going to see a Brooklyn-LA Lakers finals. And for the winner, I'm going to say the LA Lakers, just because I don't want to see Brooklyn win. So, no, but if from an analytical standpoint, I just can't see it. If AD is fully healthy, I do think there's a little foolery going on here. They're just sort of giving them that extra couple of days of rest here and there.
The reverse business.
Yeah, I think there's some of that going on, but a fully healthy AD, I think the depth chart questions that people have now are unfounded and unwarranted. And as long as you have LeBron James, you have a chance to win the finals, and they still have them. So,
Jimmy, what do you think?
I like it. I really like the way Embiid's playing. I might think Philly maybe makes it to the finals. I still think if AD's healthy, everybody stays healthy, the Lakers win. I want to see LA versus Brooklyn in the NBA finals. Like I believe the Sixers could get by them, but that's what I'd like to see in the finals. I think. Either way, whether it's, I'm just curious, because we talk a lot about legacy and standing of titles. I mean, if LeBron and AD beat this Brooklyn team, man, this one's got to be pretty special. Like, okay, KD, you're still on a really good team, but it's not a super team. It's not the team you joined. Like, these guys are not as good as those guys. I can beat you. We're going to beat you. And then they do it. I can't wait for it to happen. I think that's the way it would go down. But then on the flip side, I mean, if that's what the finals ends up being, KD wins finals MVP, Brooklyn wins the title, KD's now the best player on the planet, right? He takes the crown.
He's got the belt. He gets the belt.
Bad taste in my mouth just thinking about it.
I'm sorry, bro.
But he gets the belt.
I'm sorry.
So from my end, I think the best bet on the board is the 76ers at plus 1,400. I think that's real juicy. A lot of value there.
Yeah, take a bite out of it. Value. Take a bite out of it.
But I agree. I think we're looking at Lakers, Brooklyn, and man, I think the Lakers beat them because Kevin Durant's the only person that can guard LeBron James and Anthony Davis in that series.
Yep.
And the fundamental problem that Brooklyn is going to have in that case is that Kevin Durant is one person, and he can't do both of those things at the same time. So I give the Lakers the edge right now, although this is a good time to really keep an eye on the odds. If the Lakers maybe go into a little bit of a funk with AD still out, their odds are going to drop, and it's going to be a great time to pick up some lower odds on the Lakers.
Go
ahead, Jimmy.
I'm excited. I tell you, one of the things I'm most excited, and it's so looking ahead to it, but I'm so excited to see the Lakers in the finals because I want to see AD's projection. I want to see where can he go, because I really feel like the Lakers had the finals in hand, right? It was never close.
last year.
Yeah,
they had
right. It was never close. You made some great games, but it was never close. But I still think AD settled for way too many mid-range jump shots. Like, at times, it killed them. They'd go 4 possessions without a basket because he's just shooting a shot he doesn't need to shoot. Pass it or go to the hole. And I want to see that progression because I've always loved AD. Like, we've talked about it. It's sad he's stuck somewhere where he's just a sideshow. Can't really show it on a national stage.
Not anymore.
And then he gets there, and he was great. But I want to see it go further. I think he was the last gonna be the guy to take the crown before Giannis. I think he was in that conversation, and I want to see that, and I want to see it against Kevin Durant. Like, that's what I want to see. I want Durant on AD, and I want AD to beat him. That's what I want.
So I do have a question. Do you think that just knowing Brooklyn has Kyrie and James Harden, who's been oddly quiet and ready to pass instead of shoot, but just looking at Schroeder and Caruso and those type of guys, I mean, that's the talent difference alone and the experience difference alone is vast. Like,
yes,
there's a cavern, a huge valley right there.
But we all know that KCP is like, he doesn't care. He's like that irrational confidence guy, and he'll get burned on one end of the court and then bury a 3 and look Kyrie in the eye and talk shit to him like it's the best shot Kyrie's ever seen anybody make.
Yeah,
and then
it'll be.
And I'm sure LeBron will be showing Caruso videos of Matthew Dellavedova guarding Steph Curry. Like, that's how you play.
Actually, what I think ends up happening is you're going to see in crunch time, KD's going to take, or AD will take KD, and LeBron will take whoever is handling the ball primarily between Harden and Kyrie. And
that would be a really smart thing.
Man, am I just here for any time Kyrie and LeBron are going head to head. That is must see TV.
I hope Brooklyn does. I really do hope Philly beats Brooklyn.
Like, Brandon is getting sick to his stomach just thinking about these possibilities.
I just don't want. I'm tired. I don't want to see it. The only saving grace for Brooklyn is I'm from Brooklyn, but I don't cheer for them. I cheer for the Knicks. And B, I want to see Blake Griffin succeed. I've always been a Griffin guy. I like how he's sort of changed his game almost out of necessity because he has no legs anymore. But I think he can do something off the bench. I mean, other than that, I just don't want to see them win. I hate it.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there, Brandon. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad to be here, and I'm only 3 glasses in, so not too many.
Not bad. We kept you talking. You
did.
You didn't have any time to drink.
Jimmy, thank you for joining us as well.
Oh, no place else I'd rather be, brother.
All right. For these 2 fine gentlemen, I am Evan Belfiore, thanking you for listening, and we'll be back next time with more No Broken Legs.
Every action has a repercussion.